Alright, so here's one I remember seeing in the theater. This is Joe Dirt. This is with one of my favorite comedians, David Spade. He's actually from my state, let's just say that. I remember how dumb this movie was when it came out, but I actually do still enjoy it. And then the part where he actually comes in contact with his mom and she doesn't even care for him. And she says this one line that leads him to go find them. That's when that girl on the left, she hears that and she doesn't want Joe to meet his parents because they don't really care for him. And so she freaks out and she ends up telling him on the radio that, that they don't care for him. Overall, he had been telling this whole story to the disc jockey at the radio station about how he got lost at the Grand Canyon one day and he hadn't seen his parents since. So he kind of raised himself and he made himself who he was. That's why his name is Joe Dirt. It was something that his dad called him and it wasn't their original last name. So it was real hard to find his parents. So this is a really good movie though. It does have Kid Rock in it. I don't personally enjoy his work anymore. I used to be a big fan of his work, but ever since he turned into the psycho that he is now, I'm not a real big fan of him. Alright, so here's my one Jim Carrey movie. This is Bruce Almighty from the director of Liar Liar, which I have seen all the way through now, and I can clearly say it's not a movie I want to own, but it's like one of those sad movies, so I'm not a big fan of sad movies, and that's why I never get them. This tells the story of Jim Carrey's character, Bruce, who gives up on everything, finally calls on God and tells him, okay, I give up, you win. And God tests him. He ends up getting his powers for a day, and then it kind of goes from there, and he still has his powers after a while, and he's asking him, how can you be God if you have all these powers? For Bruce's character, he can't have the power to affect free will, and that's what he's like trying to get at, but at the same time he can't do it, so it bothers him. So now he appreciates life after being hit by a truck, and that's when all this started happening. Alright, so here's my one Will Ferrell movie. I was just thinking I should get Elf. Elf is one of my favorites too, so hopefully I can pick that up pretty soon. This is Anchorman. This is the legend of Ron Burgundy, and we also know that the second part is coming out real soon, guys, so stay tuned to your theaters and make sure you watch it, because I know I will. This one is just about Ron's character. He meets his wife at a TV station. He has his team, and there's a couple of other TV stations that they come together. They're fighting for the number one spot and who's better, who has better hair, and like a bunch of craziness goes on. And this is the character that we know today as Ron Burgundy. And there's a bunch of funny lines in that movie. Alright, so I don't know if you've noticed, this is my comedic section, and this is with Adam Sandler. This one's called Big Daddy. I really liked this movie when it came out, and how he adopts this kid that's not his, but he ends up building his own family. There was just something about this movie back then that was real good, but this is actually my second movie from Adam Sandler, so this one's Big Daddy. Alright, so here's the only Jack Black movie I own. This is School of Rock. This is the special collector's edition. This one I used to watch when I was probably in high school. Jack Black in this movie, he substitutes as Ned Schneebly, which is not him. It's actually somebody that he was staying with in his apartment. And he needed a job and he took it. At the time, he had been trying to sell that guitar that he has right there. And he was saying that it was in mint condition and that everything was good, but he ends up finding how much this job is, and that's when he took the job and disguised himself as Ned Schneebly. He was lying to everybody. He ends up building his own school of rock. He only teaches the kids rock and not the subjects that they're supposed to learn. Alright, so this is my last Adam Sandler movie. This is a newer one. This is You Don't Mess with the Zohan. This is the unrated version. It's the one disc extended version. I remember watching this 2 times in one day. The first time I saw this movie was at an outdoor theater, and I remember laughing like crazy. It was just so hilarious. I had never seen Adam Sandler do anything like this. I just remember, it was just one of those movies that you just had to see again. I ended up going the same day again to go see it at a theater. And every time I watch it now, I can still laugh at it. It's just a crazy Adam Sandler movie, and he always has these Mariah Carey t-shirts on, and he's fighting against this girl that he ends up trying to make his girlfriend. Her brother is the one that he's fighting against because he's like into all kinds of bad things, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna put up with this kind of stuff." He goes because I'm the Zohan, that he has like the best hair ever, and he just kind of puts himself out there like he's just the best thing ever. So okay, so here's a movie I think everybody's seen. This is White Chicks with Shawn Wayans and Marlon Wayans. They go undercover as white women, and they're disguised as these two girls who are filthy rich. They actually make their friends believe that they are them, and they've had work done and all this stuff, that they're actually lying to them, and they actually do make them believe until the end when they reveal themselves. And a lot of craziness goes on, but they still come clean about who they are, and they're still friends. So funny movie sometimes. Alright, so here's one of the movies that will make you hug your dog after you see it. I know that when I went to go see it in the theater, it made me want to do the same thing, and I think everybody was talking about it when it came out. So this is Eight Below. This is with Paul Walker, which we all know from the Fast and the Furious series. This is actually inspired by a true story. I'm a huge fan of dogs, so this was a movie that I really loved, and I can relate to it. So alright, so here's a movie that's out of place in my collection here. I'm gonna have to find another slot for it, but this is Crash. It tells the story of a couple of different people. In the next like 36 hours in the movie, they don't realize that their lives come together. These many different people, they come from many different backgrounds, but what they don't realize is that they're all the same inside. It brings all their stories together, and it blends them together into one, and it kind of like unites them. It just shows that you can tell a couple of different stories in one movie, and it still makes sense. This is a movie that when I watched it, I didn't really believe that you could actually do this. So this is one of my favorite movies that I have now, and I have the script of it, and I still need to read it. So I am looking forward to this one. So I don't know if I may have said that The Mummy was my last Brendan Fraser movie, but I'm noticing he is actually in this one. I totally forgot about it. So I believe this is my last Brendan Fraser movie. He's a great actor. I do need to get more from him. Alright, so here's a movie that I kind of picked up because it was kind of cheap a while back. This is Sahara with Steve Zahn, Matthew McConaughey, and Penelope Cruz. I'm not a big fan of Matthew McConaughey's work. I just think he's kind of full of himself, but that's just me. Penelope Cruz, she's alright, but I remember seeing this movie. It's just one of those like adventure movies, and it's kind of like an Indiana Jones, kind of James Bond kind of thing, as it says right there on the cover. So I remember when I went to go see it in the theater, I remember it was pretty good. So I don't want to judge it by that. So yeah, Sahara. Alright, so here's a movie that is action-packed. This is my second Maria Bello movie, and this one has John Leguizamo, Ja Rule, Drea De Matteo, Lawrence Fishburne, and Ethan Hawke. I remember I never saw this movie in the theater, but I picked it up just, I thought it was going to be pretty good. And I saw Maria Bello on the front cover, so I just, I assumed it was going to be good. And I was actually right on this one. Sometimes I do that. I pick up movies and I never seen them, and they're actually real good. So this one is about all these people that get put in a precinct, and there's people that are firing at them from outside the precinct, and they're trying to get out of it. And then after a while, after it had been snowing outside, they noticed that the sun was coming up, and that they were going to fire at them at a certain point at a certain time, and they had to escape. But they wanted to go home, and they couldn't, so they were kind of distracting them by doing certain things. And then they would have a few of their people go out and try to escape. And in the end, I don't want to tell you the end, but a few people escape, a few people die, And yeah, this is just one of those great movies, full of action, and one of my favorite movies. So this one's Assault on Precinct 13. All right, so here's one of those movies that I wish I didn't have. This is Herbie Fully Loaded. I was a big fan of Lindsay Lohan way back when, so I don't want to say too much about this one. We all know it's kind of a corny movie, but... Alright, so now we come to the last part of my DVD collection on my second shelf. This is the movie Frequency. This is with Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel from The Passion of the Christ. So what if one time in your life you wanted to go back in time to change one event? Well, that's what this movie is about. It's about John Sullivan's character. He's haunted by one tragic event when a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon happens to him. A channel to the past opens up and John is stunned to discover that he is able to communicate with his dad, being Frank, Dennis Quaid's character, that's been dead for 30 years. So coming together to change the past, tragic events start to happen and a line of brutal unsolved murders, one being John's mom and Frank's wife. So together, John and Frank have to find a way to stop crime that could destroy their future for them. And I remember watching this movie a long time ago. This is a really great movie, and it kind of speaks to me in a way, and I really like this movie. So thank you for watching this second part. I should have another video up very soon, and it will be my third shelf, which is full of TV shows and a bunch of other cool things. So stay tuned, guys, and thank you for watching.